Okay, this is video 9, and we're going to go off on a tangent here. This is an area of the puzzle that I've recently, or not recently, but I've looked at before, and I don't have a full answer for it, but it's very interesting. So this is a still shot from the movie The Shining, copied directly off the DVD. And what I've done in here is I've messed around with the colors and I've changed the hues. That's all I've changed. I've never changed any of the, just changing the hues. Now the weird thing about the Shining pictures, when you look at them in Photoshop, is this particular picture only has 2 colors in it when you begin. It has red and yellow. There's no other hues in it besides red and yellow. So that's very unusual. I don't know how he did this, but he did. And what I want you to do is look in this area right here where we have Bill Watson. Right to the right of him, we can see there's a number 3 and an M next to it. Let me do something here, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to change the hue of this picture, and watch right here where his head is, and you'll see what I'm talking about. See the 3 appear, and then the M right next to it. So it says 3M. Okay. I also want to show you another thing in this picture. If you look over in this area right here, we see a Jack Dempsey Terrier, which is on, it's in that picture, All Things Jack, a Jack Dempsey Terrier. And he's looking at his tail, and when you manipulate the colors, which you're probably not going to see in this video, it'll say wag here. So it's a dog looking at his tail, and it says wag. So it's wag the tail. We have the 3M here, right here, okay. If you watch on his shirt, a Masonic sash will appear at certain frequencies. There's the Masonic sash. Hang on, there it is. So there's his Masonic sash. He's wearing it around his neck. We have a little astronaut here with a flag. We have the lem up here. And it says PR, and the R is the lem. So it's Mr. PR. It says Mr. PR. There's an astronaut. And then as we change the hues, we see the 3M appear. Now, the next thing I want you to look at is the carpeting right here on this picture. Watch carefully. Can you see the 24, 2, 4, hand drawn, and like it looks like a felt tip pen? So we can get it in. Yeah, there we go. You can see it now. 24. So when you have the colors, now when I did this, I tweaked them a little bit and changed them a little bit. I kept going back and forth, and you find out that there's hidden images in this movie itself. There's like a little mini animated movie. Now, I'm sure there's other people that have found this and have gotten farther than I have, but I just wanted to show you this, that, wow, this puzzle is amazing, that it has this many different little things in it. You know, like there's the 24 on the carpet. His Masonic sash, you know, so it's very strange that there's little, I want to call them vignettes inside here in these little color movies. You know, we have the Jack Dempsey Terrier over here. So clearly I have not nailed the saturation in all the different color hues to where they need to be. But I just wanted to show you this because it's interesting. Let's close that. Let's do this. Okay, let's get back to Flat Earth. In the Timberline Lodge was essentially founded by FDR, the man that dies on the day that Kubrick takes the first picture that he sells to Look magazine. FDR dies. So FDR drove to the Timberline and dedicated it and everything. He supplied the money and the workers to do it. And it's basically a ski lodge. So here we have a Tucker snowcat at the Timberline. In the movie The Shining, Barry Nelson says to Jack Nicholson and Wendy, "Oh, can you drive a car?" Well, the snowcat's much like a car. Well, the vehicle that he's right in front of when he says this is not a snowcat. It's a snow track. It's an Active Fisher snow track. So he's referring to it as a snowcat incorrectly. So I thought that was odd. So I looked up the Timberline Lodge, and I found out the Timberline Lodge was in Look magazine during the time period Kubrick worked there. This is the actual Look magazine picture that was in the book, picture in the magazine, and we can clearly see this is a real snowcat, and it says Timberline Lodge on it, and this guy's hanging out, you know. So this was in Look magazine during the time Kubrick worked there. So that's a little weird, you know. He uses the Timberline Lodge for the Overlook Hotel. The Timberline Lodge is on the side of an inactive volcano, Mount Hood. And we have the snowcat, this orange snowcat, and he refers to the red active fissure snow track as a snowcat. So it's a little continuity error. He calls it a snow track, but it isn't really a continuity error, of course. So we have the snow track. So what is the most famous thing, the Jungian famous thing about this Tucker snowcat? Well, it was the first vehicle that was able to do a trans-Antarctic crossing. So this is the first trans-Antarctic crossing ever. It's done by Vivian Fuchs, and here's some pictures of them. They had 3 Tucker snowcats, and they supposedly drove all the way across Antarctica, which we know is incorrect. There's no way you can do that because it's not really the South Pole. But so that's why he gives us the Tucker snowcat. It's a clue to Vivian Fuchs, the first trans-Antarctic expedition to cross Antarctica. And here's the Tucker snowcat. Here's some more fan art. I don't own these. I blurred them. You can find these online. Jack Torrance's Red Room. A very clever fan art picture. We also have the Jack, you know, with the 2-eyed Jack of spades with Collins' axe, and this is another one that's out there. I blurred it because I don't own it. Very clever how they did these. Also, let me point out something else here. It's mirrored in the center. We have 2 axes. We have 2, it's 2 of everything. 2 Adler Eagle typewriters, and it says all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And we have the sharp, dull, shiny, flat. The rest of it I'm just going to go randomly here. Here's the original picture before you change the colors in it. There's only 2 colors in this photograph. There is red and yellow. I don't know how he gets these to look green back here, but he did. So whatever technique he used is amazing. The Apollo 1 fire, when they were doing the test for the Apollo 1 capsule when they all died, it was the plugs out test. So during the movie The Shining, we see outlets and plugs disappearing and reappearing, like the outlet or the switch outlet on the outside of Ullman's office moves and the plugs move, and we see the TV that's not plugged in. It's a little clue to the plugs out test. Here we are at the zigzag rug that he's standing in front of. We're weaving Jungian threads. Supernatural dream. This is the photograph that's in Scatman's bedroom. And we have the ball-shaped head with the cutout in it, the corona. The name of this picture is Supernatural Dream. Here's the Adler Eagle typewriter. It changes colors during the movie. It gets repainted. Little clue, we're looking for colors. Here's the 7 diamonds in space. We have the diamonds, the clubs, the hearts, the spades. It's always 7 again. This is Douglas Trumbull does this special effect. And they're rotating diamonds, by the way. This is a VW Beetle. You can barely see it in this. Maybe if I bring up the saturation, you can see it better. But it got crushed by the jackknife semi. So the Beetle is crushed. This is a red Beetle. This is the one that's in King's book. So this is a little message to Stephen King that there's no Stephen King in this book. This vehicle has been taken over by Kubrick. Let's do this. Here's the dopey sticker. So Danny goes in here, he shines, and the doctor comes. When the doctor leaves, this sticker is gone. So it's 6 out of 7, 1 dwarf, 7 dwarfs. Dopey disappears. We've also got Snoopy on here, and we've got birds all over here too. And we have the rainbow, and so it's interesting. I'm not ready for that yet. Here's the explosive bolts in 2000 Space Odyssey. The explosive bolts were used in the NASA LEMs when they blew off, when they took off from the surface of the moon. They had explosive bolts that would go off. So it's a little clue to lightning bolts and red lightning and white lightning and Battle of the Titans. This is an interesting shot here. This is a scene that was edited out of Doctor Strangelove. At the end of the movie, they had a cream pie fight. So we have The Doctor Strangelove movie, there's all kinds of hidden sexual allegory in it. You have, in the beginning of it, the two planes are coming together with the hose in between them. It's sexual thing. You have, Buck Turgidson has his lover there, Miss Scott, the Playboy bunny. Dimitri is a man. He says, "Well, he is a man after all." In other words, he's getting drunk with his floozies when the president calls him. There's a million different sexual allegories in this movie, and they end it with a cream pie fight. So we got Tricky Dick Nixon. We got Lyndon Johnson is another name for Dick. There's a lot of little Dick humor things in here. We have the Tricky Dick that's in Clockwork Orange. So I'm not ready for that. Here's the baseball I didn't point out before. Here's Catcher in the Rye. Here's the dopey sticker disappearing. It's gone now. Let's see if you on screen. Here it is before the visit. Here it is after. It's clearly missing. So there's things that go missing, and anything that goes missing or appears out of nowhere is a clue. Here's Marilyn Monroe at the Biltmore, Arizona, hanging out. Gee, I wonder if JFK went there when she was there. Here's Kubrick's first movie he does, or one of the first movies he does. It's the Cartier fight. This man is a twin. He has a twin brother. So this is one of our first twin clues. We're looking for twins, and we're looking for boxing. Johnny Carson is a boxer. Tony Burton is a boxer. Rocky is a boxer. Jack Dempsey, just like the Terrier, is a boxer. Barry Lyndon, he boxes in Barry Lyndon. So you get the 1-2 punch. In 2001: A Space Odyssey, Frank Poole jogs around the centrifuge, and he shadow boxes, which is very clever. So he's a shadow boxing. He's doing the 1-2 punch. You have the jab. We talked about earlier. We talked about AIDS. We talked about sickle cell. We talked about fluoride. So now we have a boxer who shadow boxes and he jabs. So here's the mirrored lake picture in Jack's bedroom. This moves all over the wall, and every scene it's moving around. This is a little clue that we shouldn't see a perfect mirror in the lake of the sky. It should be curved, and it never is. We see this when we go to the Salt Flats. The Donner Party crossed the Great Salt Flats, one of the flattest places in the world. You have the all kinds of clues to reflections off water, or don't show any curvature when it's very still. This is another one here. It's the same picture I showed you before, with the colors augmented differently. You can see the little astronaut with his flag up here, Mr. PR. His Masonic. You saw this earlier. It's a lot clearer in the other picture. 42 cars in the parking lot. This is not the full picture. You'll notice here there's a pyramidal structure on the real Timberline Lodge. It's a ski lodge. In Kubrick's movie, he completely omits he's a stickler for details, but he completely omits the pyramid in his set design. It's very bizarre. He matches all this perfectly, and then when he gets to the pyramid, he just completely deletes it. So it's a little clue that pyramids could be involved in this. We see a white beetle here. We see a yellow beetle here. We see a red beetle here. There's lots of little cars in here that you need to figure out what they are. Some of them are so blurry you really can't tell. But the fact is 42, we know. And there's no hedge maze here anywhere. So, it doesn't match the Overlook set at all. I'm not ready for this. Let's see here. Here's the movie Carson City that's playing on the TV. This is directed by one-eyed director Andrei Dutoff. It stars David Randolph Scott. So this is a clue to, I'm sorry, it stars Randolph Scott, and this is a clue to David Randolph Scott, the Apollo 15 astronaut that does he flies in the Falcon. The Falcon launches on Stanley Kubrick's 42nd birthday. So this is a clue to One-Eye Jacks. This movie is about tunneling through a mountain. So we have tunneling clues, like we have the Mine Shaft Gap and Carson City, a movie about tunneling. There's the Timberline Lodge, the Snowcat. the Tucker snowcat. Here's a pool table that appears out of nowhere in The Shining. It wasn't here earlier, now it's here. You know, it's the pool table, the pool balls, the billiards, the 8-ball, the snowball, you know, the basketball, the baseball, the tennis ball. This is fascinating. I found this one earlier. I had copied this before and I'd forgotten I had copied it. Zoom in, zoom in. It says, Kubrick's films came from the... by sleeping through the British day, he could be awake and working when it was light in North America. His new existence evoked the character of the names he'd chosen for his companies. The Hawk, hovering untouchable. The Minotaur in his labyrinth. Polaris, the North Star. There's a, whoa, hello, hold on. We got Polaris, the North Star. You know, we talk about there's no parallax change in the night sky. You know, everything revolves around Polaris. So we've got the Polaroid camera. We've got the horseshoes. You put 2 poles in the ground and throw the shoes. You've got the horseshoe magnet. You know, we've got a magnetic anomaly, a tychomagnetic anomaly. You know, so he says the Polaris, the fixed point in the heavens, which we all navigate. In particular, he would become Odysseus, the mythic traveler at home nowhere. You know, so this is a little article about Kubrick. And he's talking about the Minotaur, he's talking about the Hawk, he's talking about Polaris. I mean, these are all little breadcrumbs that he's, you know, hidden in his little interviews and such. Let's go to this. Here we go. Well, yeah, here we go. Remember I said earlier, anytime you see Kubrick in a picture where he's smoking, it's a clue. Well, here you go. He's in front of Ripley's Believe It or Not. This is the night he doesn't win the Oscar for his picture, 2001: A Space Odyssey. He loses to My Fair Lady. So here he is in front of smoking, Believe It or Not. This will come back later. Remember that picture. It's very clever. This is good. You know, February 28th is the day... February 29th is the day they add the leap year day. So here's a shining slate from the movie, and it's got February 28th, 1979. 1979 is not a leap year. 1980 was. So there would have been a February 29th in 1980, but not in 1979. So it's a very clever little slate here he's giving you. Project Bluebook. Here we have the Forest Rangers, the U.S. Forest Rangers. These will come into the puzzle later. I haven't really touched on them yet, but just be aware that there's U.S. Forest Rangers in the puzzle. You know, this little U.S. Forestry Ranger sign moves all over between scenes. It goes up, goes down, goes over. This blue book disappears. We see it. He goes, oh, hi, everything going at the Overlook? And then Wendy says, pretty good. And then he comes back and the book is gone. So it's a little clue to Project Bluebook and the saucers. Here's the Apollo 13 jury-rigged air filter they did with duct tape. In The Shining, in the scene where Jack's reading the Playboy, as they're walking to meet Jack with the Playboy thing, you'll see a stack of boxes, and there's a box that's sitting on the top, and it's taped with this, you know, this crosshatch, I guess you could call it a stitching kind of thing here. And it's a little clue to Apollo 13. Also, the woman that walks by when we see this box, she has a 13 jersey on. There's hidden symmetry in this maze, or in this picture here. This is early on in the puzzle when I was looking at everything, and I found out there's actually hidden symmetry in this drawing. This is a little farther than you want to go, but you know, there's lots of clues and lots of different levels. Let's minimize that. What do we got here? You know, here's more projection. They're projecting images on his face. This almost looks like the azimuthal equidistant, 33 UN map that they're projecting on his face. We're supposed to see an A here. You know, it's A11, A1. A is the first letter of the alphabet. We have the redheads here. There's another redhead. The movie Eyes Wide Shut has so many redheads in it. I could do half a video on just how many redheads are in it. So let's go to, you saw this already. Okay, let's go to Lookout Labs. We have the Overlook, okay? The Overlook, we have the Laurel Crown, we have the Laurel Wreath, we have lots of clues to the Minotaur and Apollo and his Laurel. Well, this is a place called Laurel Canyon, and inside of Laurel Canyon there was a secret underground CIA movie base called Lookout Labs. Lookout Labs is the lab that develops all the atomic blast footage. So here we have Lookout Mountain Laboratories. They don't put an address in these movies, by the way. They just say Lookout Mountain Laboratories. This is a secret lab that existed in Laurel Canyon, a very famous canyon. And I don't know if you are familiar with a gentleman by the name of Dave McGowan. He passed away recently. God bless his soul. The guy was a genius. He lived in Laurel Canyon, and he did a whole expose on Wag the Moon Doggy and all the military-industrial complex children that lived in Laurel Canyon that became huge rock stars, like overnight. Like Jim Morrison is Admiral Morrison's son. And they interviewed Jim, and they say, Jim, you know, where are your parents at? What's going on with your parents? And he tells everybody they're dead. Because he can't tell you they're alive, because then he'd have to tell you his dad was Admiral Morrison, one of the men that got us into the Vietnam War, which would be very uncomfortable. So he avoids that question and says his family is dead. Jim and a lot of these people got their start in Lookout in Laurel Canyon. Jim used to do shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go. So literally you would drive down from Laurel Canyon where this secret studio is located, right to the Whiskey A Go-Go and Sunset Strip. So when Crosby and all these performers were being polished up at the log cabin in Laurel Canyon, they would go to the Whiskey A Go-Go for shows. And it's all military-industrial families. There's no generic rock stars that come out of this place. They're all pre-picked, pre-arranged. There's a shot of Lookout Labs in Laurel Canyon. There's only one way in the canyon and one way out. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. You saw this. You saw this. It's a little clue to Poe in Stephen King's The Dead Zone and the Gold Beetle. A little clue there. Haven't really looked at this movie too closely, but I'm sure it's alchemical now. I saw that. Now we see the 24. Let's see if I can get the 24 so you can at least see the 24. But most people I show them this and they go, "Oh, you're crazy. You don't know what you're doing. You're insane." You can see a 24 handwritten on the floor right there. So there's a way to extract these images that he's hidden. Here's a little astronaut up here. Now there's a lot of stuff here. You just can't see it because I'm not good at whatever method is used to extract this. Here's the original picture. It has two colors in it. Let me show you this. This is bizarre. This is not normal for photographs. We go to red. We got lots of red in it, right? Let's go back to 0. We got yellow. We got lots of yellow in it. Go back to 0. And let's go to magenta. Let's go to blues. Oh, wow. There's no blue in it whatsoever. How is that possible? We have green in here. We have no blue. So whatever's been done to these photographs in the movie, I don't know how he did it. Did he use a computer? Did he use whatever? Anyway, there is stuff hidden in them, and I've only begun to look at this. So if anyone else out there has run across this and figured out how to do it better, please let me know. Here's another one. This is Orville Redenbacher. He's born July 16th, the day of the Apollo 11 launch. There's a sticker of Orville Redenbacher on Cowboy's helmet. And so his name is Redenbacher, so we have the color. He's on Cowboy's helmet, and he's a redhead. Here's his son, who's a redhead. So redheads, if your mother and father are red, you get red hair, basically. You have to have both family members have to carry the gene. So he probably had red hair, and if he didn't, he carries the gene for red hair, so he's a redhead. We have what are you animals doing in my head? The redhead, the Biltmore bathroom, the horse head, it goes on and on and on, the head. This is the same thing. Let me do this. Let me see if this is the one you can see it really good on. No, not really. You can see his Masonic mat, this sash right here. He's a Mason. You saw this. There's the 3M. You can see it. This is Danny's Star Trek phaser toy. It's actually a battery-powered toy that operates off hues. There's a specially colored disc that comes with this Star Trek game set. You would put the disc on the wall, and if you fired your little light beam and it reflected off the correct colored disc, it would score a hit on your gun. It would make the noise. So this is a very clever clue that he gives you. It's a clue to colors and the fact that we're using light and different hues and Star Trek, the show. So this is a good one. I'll do this one right in front of you. You can see this one yourself. Let's go red. Or is it this way? Let me see if it's this way or that way. I forget. Oh, it's that way. Yellow, we go the other way. Oh well. Green. Cyan. Blue, here we go. Hang on, there's one in here where I decoded it already. See it? You know, there's the director's chair again. The dopey sticker disappears. This is a clever one. Jack is throwing the tennis ball against this embroidered, woven tapestry. It's an Indian tapestry. This is an Indian tapestry of the firmament. See this one Indian that extends all the way around here? This would be the same thing as Geb and Nut in the Egyptian mythology. This is the dome that's over, and it's upside down. This picture's in here upside down. It should be the other orientation, I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But usually this, in most Indian pictures, it will go all the way around them. But in this one, it just goes around, just like Geb and Nut. It's the firmament. Here's the gold room bar. Remember how I mentioned earlier that the three sandbags that the three men are murdered in Paths of Glory, Kubrick's movie? That the three sandbags are arranged just like the gold room bar. Well, they are. You had a sandbag, and a sandbag. Lloyd is the bartender here. Lloyd is one of the guys standing in front of the sandbags in Paths of Glory. So Lloyd is in both of these. So we have the connection to Lloyd. We have the connection to Jack Daniels. Moonshine, moonshots. The Apollo 1 crew was murdered, all three men. Nikola Tesla is in the final shot picture. This is my opinion. I've seen lots of pictures of Nikola Tesla. This looks very much like him. He's a very tall man. The man in the final shot is very tall. He has the same kind of, he actually wore a mustache for a short period of time. So that's my opinion. I believe Nikola Tesla. I want to mention Rob Ager. Rob Ager does a great video on the hidden themes in The Shining. He talks about currencies and tenders and surrender, and so Google Rob Ager and watch his videos on The Shining. There's some really amazing stuff in there. I don't want to take credit for it. He figured it out. Here's the basketball player wearing skis with poles in his hand. There's another ball here. Hello, we got a ball. And the dartboard is mirrored horizontally. Here's the gold room bar. We got the 4 and the 2. 42. Here's the 7 diamonds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's always 7 diamonds in all his diamond clues. There's the original photo that I made from the other one. Let's minimize that. Here's the, it's January issue of Playgirl. And we have the article down here, incest, why parents sleep with their own children. Danny shows all the signs of a molested child. This is a subject I haven't really gotten into, but pedophilia runs in a lot of his movies. You have Lolita is about pedophilia. Danny shows all the signs of a split personality. He has his imaginary friend Tony, who he talks to. He always looked like an MK Ultra kid that's been split into 2 personalities. And some of the stuff is so horrific he can't deal with it, so he lets Tony deal with it. And there's all kinds of clues in here. Tax dollars give new identity to criminals. Let's see what else we got here. We get the Fruit Loops back here hidden. He's Looney Tunes. He's Fruit Loops. He's crazy. The Kool-Aid. We got in the other shot we have Tang. The drink they brought to. He brought to the moon with them, Tang. This is a shot right here. It's very hard to see. Let me zoom in a little so maybe you can see it better. I mean, it's still not great even when you zoom in. But it's a shot of a rocket launching here. You have the jet exhaust and the rockets going up. A little clue to the flat Earth there. This is a clever picture. This is Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd and Kubrick, are alchemically linked. And this is a great example of this. This is a Pink Floyd album. And there's something very wrong with this picture. And it's not readily apparent when you first see it, but after you would analyze it in perspective, you realize that the plane in the foreground here, where these buildings are, and the plane in the background here are wrong. They're at different angles. So this is an example of like front screen projection. When you look at the backgrounds, they don't match the parallax of the front grounds. So it's a very clever picture that they put on their album, and you have, the flying pig here, pigs on the wing. And what else do we have? Almost done here. Oh, here's FDR. He drives up to the Timberline Lodge to dedicate it. He donated all the money that allowed this place to get built in the first place. So we have a direct connection to FDR. We have Kubrick's first picture of FDR that he ever sells as a young boy. He sells to Look magazine the day he died, April 13. Well, he dies the 12th, but his picture's the April 13th. And here you see the works crews that worked on this place. And this is the Timberline Lodge, where this is one of the hotels that the book and movie were, or actually I should say, one of the hotels the movie was based on. The book is based on the Stanley Hotel. The movie is based on several hotels. You have the Anawahi Hotel, I believe it's in Maine. You have the Timberline Lodge, which is in Colorado. God, I can't realize I forgot that. I can't believe I forgot that. You have the Stanley Hotel, is the one that he wrote the book in, which is the one Dumb and Dumber. Oh, way, we landed on the moon. So this is a connection to FDR, and so there you go. And that is going to do it. Let me see if there's anything else here. No. All right, let me try one more crack at this right here, just to show you, because this one's pretty good.